All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is safe to say that Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves have been going a little bit crazy with some news for version 2.2. We've got the combat showcase for Cantarella, and of course, some details when it comes to her kit. And we'll be going ahead, we'll be reviewing both of these, having a bit of a react to both, and then diving into a breakdown of everything that her kit is going to provide. So with that, let's just dive right into this combat showcase. We did see a little bit of her in the version trailer, but I'm excited to see what the full extent of her abilities are in this demo. All right, looks like we're starting off with that very nice 2D sort of animation with that retro art style. This might be the second time that we're viewing it, but I gotta say, you know, the developers, the artists, the animators, they really went all out for this one. I think they know 1,000,000%. They know 1,000,000% what they were doing.
Whether I am the bane of the wicked or...
And that sort of like 2D transition where we have like this, you know, this looks like an anime maybe from like the 80s or the 90s. And then we get into the more like modern art style of today. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a part of her character necessarily, but it's cool. It's a nice vibe. A bit of a shout out to maybe some of the older members of the audience, those that would be, you know, perhaps most interested in a character like this.
is yours to decide. Surge of deep tides.
All right. A lot of jellyfishes. A lot of close-ups of her face. That seems like the main thing we're seeing in this trailer. Okay. Legs.
Crush forth in fury.
That looks like her Forte circuit. So that whole like hallucination vibe that we had going on, I don't know if you all have kept up with Cantarella's Resonator report, but apparently she like releases some sort of like toxic fumes from her body that will like cause those around her and potentially like her herself to start like hallucinating or getting, you know, some sort of like mental stuff going on. And I do believe that's what's supposed to happen to us right now. Pheromones, I don't know about that one, buddy boy. Ooh, those chops, they don't got hands right now. They getting the shit beat out of them. And right there, we just had some of that CC that I think the devs were really talking about a lot in the live stream. She's got a status effect that will basically disable the enemies. It looks like they're sleeping, but I'm going to be real here. I don't know much content in the game that really warrants eating this kind of CC. Maybe she's going to be like one of the premier hologram characters because she'll give you like time to, you know, maybe like set up, maybe swap to the team member that you want, do a little bit of healing. And if it works on those bigger bosses, that could be something very interesting and very helpful to maybe some of the, you know, maybe lesser skilled players that need that sort of aid in that sort of content. Okay. Wait, let me just get a close up of that one last time. Oh, yep. We only see like part of her tongue though, unfortunately. We don't get to see the whole tacit mark. The tacit mark is on strike, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think we get to see the whole thing. Nah. Well, that looks like her liberation animation. And I assume an army of jellyfish that attack with her. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, out of all the combat showcases I've seen, this might have been one of the better ones. This might have been the best one, actually, to be honest. I think this is the one that's had, like, the most, like, unique art style, the most, like, unique sort of intro. It really, I think it showcases pretty much every single part of her kit, and then even has, like, this whole, like, trippy sequence as well. Yeah, it looks like you're on LSD for this. Don't ask me why I know that. I mean, I gotta say, great job by Kuro Games. Very excited for the character. Can't wait for what her demo is going to show. All right, now that we've taken a look at her showcase, it's time to start breaking down her kit, some of her requirements. Cantarella, the current head of Phasalia. Cantarella, the Bane. Whether I am the Bane of the wicked or the pure is yours to decide. Okay, she's either evil or she's good, depending on where you stand. Probably gives us some clues for the role that she's going to have across the story quest. I do think she's going to end up being helpful in some way. Bit of an anti-hero, or maybe a little bit of a villain. villain. We'll just have to see. But for all we know, yeah, she's a bit of a succubus. Moving on, we're taking a look at some of her character details and requirements. First things first, we all know that she's Havoc and Rectifier by now because she was drip marketed quite a while ago with some of those stats. When it comes to her Ascension materials, we're going to have the Cleansing Conch, which is going to be Lorelai's Ascension mat. We're going to have the Seaside Cendrellis, which is a new Ascension mat that you're going to pick up from the environment, released in 2.2. So you're not going to be able to pre-farm this, but there should be a lot of spawns. And so as long as you farm the Cleansing Conches from Lorelai, you should be able to level her up completely day one. And then the Polygon cores just drop from Ridicey to TDs. Then we're going to end up with the skill materials. So just the regular Rectifier level up mats. You can get these in any region and pre-farm these. And When Iris's Bloom is going to be the new weekly boss mat from who many are considering Cartithia, right? She's looking like she's going to be the new weekly boss, and these will be, you know, the things that will drop from her. So make sure, if you're watching this right now, it's after a Sunday, or potentially it's before Sunday. Save your weekly boss mats for next week. Otherwise, you might not have them ready to go to actually start leveling up this character or even Arrow Rover, because they will be using the same exact mats. Now that we've taken a look at some of Cantarella's upgrade materials, let's start looking at her kit. Starting off with her normal attack, Cantarella's going to have some pretty typical offerings for, you know, the Rectifier class. A regular basic attack where she just goes and attacks up to 3 times. A heavy attack where she's just going to consume some stamina and deal a big, you know, a little burst of damage. And then her enhanced heavy attack. And this is what's going to actually incorporate her Forte circuit. When Cantarella has Trance, which is that unique resource on her Forte, her heavy attack becomes Delusive Dive. So, you know, she's just going to hold down the normal attack button to activate this state. After she does that, she's going to deal some havoc damage to a target and then enter Mirage. And while she's in Mirage, using Delusive Dive does not activate Mirage again. So the attack, it does look like she'll be able to continually build up this trance and repeatedly cast this attack, but it's not going to reactivate or refresh her form. This is also going to be used in water to allow her to sort of rise up. That's the interaction that we saw in the trailer. You'll also see a little bit more when we look at her Forte circuit, how this trance is built up. When it comes to her mid-air attack, she's just going to do a plunging attack and hit the target. Very typical Rectifier stuff. And then after a dodge counter, she'll advance to a specific part in her attack chain, probably the second or third attack, and then, you know, kind of let go from there. Very typical stuff. The only unique thing is that enhanced heavy attack. Moving on, she's going to have her resonance skill, just the overall ability being called Dance with Shadows. The first cast, or really the baseline resonance skill, is going to be called Graceful Step. She just attacks the target and deals a bit of havoc damage. Nothing too crazy. And then she's going to have Flickering Reverie. When she's in that Mirage state, which we enter using that heavy attack when trance is full, the resonance skill becomes Flickering Reverie, which is considered an echo skill. Big keyword over here. It's considered an echo skill when it's being cast. You're going to see this tagline a lot when she has any of her enhanced moves, or specifically when she's in the Mirage state. She attacks the target and deals havoc damage and then sends them into Hazy Dream. And this is a unique debuff that I believe only Cantarella has, and probably only Cantarella will have. It can also be cast in midair, and you'll see why. When it comes to Hazy Dream, she reduces the target's movement speed for 6.5 seconds. And when the target takes damage, a special attack called Jolt is triggered once. That removes Hazy Dream to deal havoc damage, and it's considered as basic attack. Attacks by other Resonators in the team will not jolt a target and will just remove the status effect. It will just remove Hazy Dream. Coordinated attacks and damage from utilities, and by utilities, I'm talking about something like, you know, maybe this. We all know about Rosia's magic box. When the recipient of her outro skill basically goes in and enters the field, their gadget is replaced by a tornado that continually groups the enemies. And so this is what the devs mean by utility damage. And casting that tornado is not going to remove the status effect of Hazy Dream. And coordinated attacks, right, won't either. And so, you know, it could be coordinated attacks from a character like, let's just say, Zhezhi, or it could be the coordinated attacks of a character like maybe a Verena on a Resonance Liberation. Since these attacks aren't like intentionally made, they will not jolt a target. I am not entirely sure if this means that it will wake them up from the hazy dream. We're gonna have to test this out a little bit more. The fact that these have like a separate tagline over here, I believe that they just don't interact at all with hazy dream. They don't jolt, and then they don't remove hazy dream from the target. Just from what we're reading over here, because there's a specific line about not triggering jolt and removing hazy dream, I would imagine that coordinated attacks would straight up not jolt, and then also not remove the debuff as well. And you'll see why. You'll see why based off of what else is in Cantarella's kit. But we'll have to test this out to fully confirm it. Moving on to a Resonance Liberation, and you'll see what I'm talking about with coordinated attacks. Cantarella is going to attack the target, deal havoc damage, which is considered as basic attack, so you can kind of see what her damage type is. And she's then going to inflict diffusion on all resonators on the team. More like Grant. Diffusion now sounds like a debuff. Casting this skill is also considered casting an echo skill. So you're seeing this tagline again. First on her enhanced resonance skill, and now on her liberation. It can be cast in midair, very close to the ground, so she has a lot of mobility in her kit. When it comes to diffusion, which is more of like a buff than a debuff, when the resonator on the field deals damage to a target, summon a Dreamweaver to perform a coordinated attack, dealing havoc damage considered as basic attack damage. Within 3 seconds after the resonator deals damage, summon one Dreamweaver a second. This effect can be triggered once per second, and damage dealt by Dreamweavers cannot trigger the effect. So you can't just like throw out one attack, a Dreamweaver hits, oh, it counts as a hit, let's summon another Dreamweaver. You've got to continuously be doing damage for those new Dreamweavers to be summoned. Up to 1 can be summoned every second, and up to 21 Dreamweavers can be summoned as a whole. And the effect is going to last 30 seconds or until reaching that cap of 21. And so, if you've been keeping up with some of the kits in the game, this Resonance Liberation is really similar to another character's, Zhezhi. Because Zhezhi basically has the same exact Resonance Liberation, where instead of dealing glacial damage, Cantarella's just deals havoc, but they work pretty much identically, pretty much exactly the same. I don't actually know where the differences are, because Zhezhi, for 3 seconds after dealing damage, 1 Inklet Spirit is summoned per second. It can only be triggered once per second, and the damage by Inklet Spirits does not trigger the effect. 1 can be summoned every second, up to 21 total, and the entire duration of Zhezhi's liberation is 30 seconds, or until the max of 21 Inklet Spirits. So, as you can see, we basically already have this Resonance Liberation in the game. It is straight up 100% just Zhezhi's. They also share the same exact damage type as basic attack. And so hopefully there's going to be a bit more of like a differentiation over here. Maybe the damage being dealt is like higher by Zhezhi and lower by Cantarella, or higher by Cantarella and lower by Zhezhi. But it's essentially the same exact ability. It's a little bit like Control C, Control V. But, you know, maybe that's not that big of an issue because of these unique interactions that we're seeing here with the whole Echo skill dynamic. Do keep in mind, you just have to look at how Zhezhi's ultimate or her liberation works, and that's really just going to be how Cantarella's does. That's going to be everything that we're seeing over here. Now let's start moving on to her Forte circuit. And boy, oh boy, this Forte circuit is long. It is an essay between illusion and reality. So when Cantarella is in the Mirage state, which we just talked about is entered by using her heavy attack when her trance is full, she gains a new basic attack called Phantom Sting, which performs up to 3 consecutive attacks that all deal havoc damage. It can be cast in mid-air, and so it's the same attack animation on the ground or in the air, and when you cast it in mid-air, the Phantom Sting attack consumes stamina, and the combo does not reset while she's in the air. And so you can sort of like delay your attacks, and you'll just go from like chain 1 to chain 2 to chain 3, no matter how long you're taking in between those attacks. Hitting the target with a basic attack Phantom Sting is going to consume a point of trance to obtain a point of shiver and heal all nearby resonators in the team. The third stage of the basic attack Phantom Sting is going to trigger 3 coordinated attacks, kind of like her jellyfish attacks, and then deal havoc damage. She gains a new mid-air attack called Abysmal Vortex, and then pressing jump to perform a plunging attack at the cost of stamina while she's in the air. That's how you're going to activate it. I assume that Abysmal Vortex is going to have like some form of grouping for the enemies. This, unless, you know, if it doesn't, then I do think Vortex is kind of the wrong word to be using over here. So it looks like while she's in the Mirage state, she's going to have access to a lot of unique attacks, some status effects, and maybe some built-in utility as well. She's going to get a new dodge counter called Shadowy Sweep, which is going to attack the target, deal havoc damage, and then she'll be able to press the normal attack button right after the dodge counter to start advancing her basic attack chain from stage 2. When Abysmal Vortex, that plunge attack that she does, or the Shadowy Sweep dodge counter hits, she's going to consume a point of trance to, again, start building up that shiver and do that healing. Every time she consumes trance and builds up shiver, she heals people on the team. So that's where like her supportive ability comes in. That Mirage state that enables all of these unique attacks, it only lasts 8 seconds. And when trance is gone, the state ends, even if it's been less than 8 seconds. And so, it's time to get into some more details about that. When Cantarella has 3 points of shiver while in Mirage, she gains a unique resonance skill called Perception Drain, which basically will consume all shiver to attack the target. She can build up to 3 stacks, and they'll all be considered basic attack damage. She then sends the target into Hazy Dream, which is that status effect we were talking about, and heals everybody. Casting this enhanced resonance skill after building up that shiver, it's considered casting an echo skill. And so you're seeing over here, we have sort of 3 ways for Cantarella to be using echo skills. First is this enhanced resonance skill while in her forte. Her liberation is another source. And, well, her regular resonance skill while in Mirage will also count as an echo skill. So basically, Mirage is the form that gives her all of these echo skill related abilities, and then her resonance liberation is going to be another way as well. And she has an enhanced resonance skill that's going to become available as she rotates throughout her kit while in that Mirage state. So a little bit of complexity over here, but as you see, it's kind of just like she'll build up these, she'll build up her meter and then gain access to buffed abilities, and then those buffed abilities will be, you know, counted as echo skills. That's kind of like how she works at a baseline. Now she has Abyssal Rebirth. And this is going to be just one random line in her forte that is a little bit confusing at first glance, so let's explain it a little bit. After casting an intro skill, when resonators in the team cast an echo skill, recover 6 points of concerto energy. And so as you can see, Cantarella really likes entering into this Mirage state, building up this trance, consuming it, getting all the shiver, and then casting all of these enhanced skills or regular skills while in the Mirage state and her liberation to build up that concerto energy. She essentially has a faster rotation as long as you're going ahead and potentially swapping to other members of the team or just staying on her to use that shiver and then use those resonance skills. This can be cast up to 6 times. And this is kind of the crazy thing about this. She's got 3 in her baseline kit that we were talking about. She's got a 4th in just casting her echo skill, which is likely going to be Lorelei itself. And then she can get 2 more from the echo skills of her teammates. Think of like a Fallacy of No Return, or just think about any echo skill that her teammates might have. Do keep in mind that Nightmare Crownless, an echo skill that belongs in the Havoc class, is an echo skill that has 3 charges. And so this could be another way to sort of like battery Cantarella while she's just used her intro skill to gain more of that concerto energy and then make her rotations a lot faster. She's going to have a second tagline to this as well, where when in water, Cantarella's swimming speed increases and then the stamina cost decreases. This is sort of like the whole like quality of life thing that some people are freaking out about on Twitter. It's not that big of a deal because who really swims in this game anyways. When it comes to that concerto energy increasing buff, it's going to last for 25 seconds and it can only be triggered once every 25 seconds. So kind of like in line with baseline team rotations, though the cooldown does seem a little bit long. I think like 20 seconds might have made it a bit more sense considering how our teams might work. We've gone through quite a few things on our Forte circuit. Now it's time to get into Trance, which is how you even enter Mirage State in the first place and gain access to all of these different abilities. Cantarella can hold up to 5 points of Trance. Using an intro skill is going to give her 1 point. Hitting a target with her basic attack stage 3 is also going to give her another point. Using her baseline resonance skill, the one that's just like deal damage to a target, that's going to recover a point. And then casting a resonance liberation is going to recover 3 points. And then while she's in the water, you know, swimming, she's going to get 1 point every 5 seconds. When she has 5 total points, that's when she can enter the Mirage State. And this is the thing. Most of the time, you're just going to cast her intro skill. You're going to cast her resonance skill. You're going to be at 2 out of your 5 points. And then you're just going to cast her resonance liberation. You're probably never going to actually use this whole basic attack hitting stage 3 to recover a point of trance, because you'll get all the way up to 5 just from kind of like rotating throughout her kit very normally. You just need to make sure you have a resonance liberation every single rotation, and that means that she might have a kind of high ER cost requirement. if we're being entirely honest here, for the smoothest rotations in the team. That's going to be kind of like a baseline for her. When it comes to Shiver, which is that alternative resource that she gets by consuming trance, she can hold up to 3 points of Shiver. Hitting the target with a basic attack Phantom Sting is going to recover a point of Shiver, and when in midair, the Abysmal Vortex or dodge counter Shadowy Sweep, it's going to hit a target and then recover a point of Shiver as well. And so you can kind of see she builds up the trance with her regular actions on field, enters Mirage state, starts consuming the trance, builds up the Shiver, and then starts using special attacks like Perception, Drain, builds up all those echo skills across her rotation, and then batteries her concerto faster and faster, doing all of that. And so you can kind of see how the kit works. It is very, very reliant on the actions she's taking on field. And I have to say, after looking and reviewing her entire kit, she is a lot more complex to use. She's a lot more complex to use than a character like Zhezhi, who literally just intros in, presses her skill, summons her imprints, and then just zips around, uses her Resonance Liberation, and then gets the fuck off the field. Zhezhi is going to be way more simple, way easier to use than a character like Cantarella. And Cantarella is going to have quite some layers of complexity to her. It's not going to be like absurdly difficult to pick her up and use her, but you can kind of see there's way more freedom with how you're spending the resources and how you're managing them in relation to a character like Zhezhi, who's a bit more static. And so, bit of an exciting kit design over here, and that's just from looking at her basic Liberation skill and Forte. Now let's get into her intro skill. She's gonna have actually two forms of her intro skill. One where she just attacks the target, and then she can normal attack shortly after casting the skill to start the combo from basic attack 3. And so that means she actually has a shortcut built into her kit that will allow her to start building up that trance, even without her Liberation. You might end up overcapping, but it's not a huge deal. When she's in Mirage, she gains a special intro skill called Tidal Surge, which triggers 3 coordinated attacks on hit. And then casting Tidal Surge is going to reset the combo of her basic attack Phantom Sting, which is going to be really interesting, right? Because the Mirage state, as we're all familiar after reading, after reading this kit one time, the Mirage state only lasts 8 seconds, and she has to manually trigger it. And the thing is, her having a unique intro skill while in Mirage would mean that she'd have to trigger it, go off field, fill up somebody else's concerto, and then go back on field using her enhanced intro skill while she's on that 8-second timer. And so it seems like there is some quick swap potential, or just like some swap heavy rotations built into the design of her kit, which kind of like elevates the skill ceiling for her character pretty significantly, in that she has a lot of synergy with like swapping off field while in her like enhanced state, and that could lead to some very interesting combinations that, you know, might end up performing exceptionally well. And it's going to be really interesting to see how people are able to build this into their team's rotations. Maybe this is like to give her some sort of potential as a bit more of like a main DPSer, because she is potentially, right, receiving some damaging buffs while she's casting this intro skill and receiving somebody else's outro. But we'll just have to see how this all pans out. It's a very unique thing to add to her kit, and I think it's going to be very cool, but it could be really difficult to use properly. Now we're going to her outro skill, and this has a crazy name: Gentle Tentacles. Amplify the incoming resonator's havoc damage by 20% and resonance skill damage by 25% for 14 seconds, and then switching a resonator ends the effect. Aside from the name, it's a pretty typical outro skill. The main recipients for this are, of course, going to be Zhezhi, because she loves having those buffs to resonance skill damage, and of course, Jinxi's Forte circuit is built up much more quickly from coordinated attacks that are not her attribute. You know, her attribute being Spectro. And with Cantarella doing Havoc coordinated attacks, she's gonna have a ton of synergy with her character. And in all honesty, a ton of quick swap potential during Jinxi's rotations, because hey, if Cantarella's still in Mirage and then Zhezhi gives out free concerto and free outro skills, this could be an interesting way to activate the Tidal Surge state and then do more of those coordinated attack hits, more possible than Zhezhi, and then build up Jinxi's Forte circuit even faster and faster, and then she'll get that fat outro skill buff of 25% to resonance skill, and then be able to go through more of her damaging rotations that way. We all know that Zhezhi has a ton of access to her outro skill, because she gets a free cast after using her enhanced nuke. So that's a cool thing that we have built in. Now let's get into some of her inherent skills. We've got Cure, which is just going to increase her healing bonus by 20%. pretty boring, but pretty normal. And then Poison, which is a lot more interesting. Casting an Echo skill gives a 6% havoc damage bonus for 10 seconds, and then stacks up to 2 times. We all know that Cantarella is going to have her own Echo skill, and then she's also going to have all of those other types of Echo skills, from entering Mirage, from casting a Resonance Liberation, from using her regular skill in Mirage, and then using her enhanced Resonance skill in Mirage. A lot of different ways to cast Echo skills, refresh this buff, and then keep it going. Unfortunately, it's only like 12%. It's not really that much. When it comes to our combat guide, you just cast Intro, Resonance Skill, and Liberation to get Trance. You're going to use your heavy attack when Trance is full to enter the Mirage state, and then hit those targets, consume Trance, gain Shiver, and then use the enhanced Resonance skill. You're also going to use all those skills while she's in Mirage to send the targets into Hazy Dream, CC them, and then use Delusive Dive while Trance isn't depleted for some extra damage while on field. And that's going to be kind of like how she works. She has a lot of complexity built into her kit, but a lot of potential as well. We're seeing a lot of similarities in that, like we talked about with her Resonance Liberation, it's pretty much exactly the same as Zhezhi's, but she has so much more complexity built into like her Forte circuit and her attack chains and the consumption of her Forte circuit that she's gonna have, in my opinion, a lot more of a dynamic playstyle than Zhezhi. And so I wouldn't view the similarities between the Resonance Liberations as too much of a red flag, because pretty much every single other part of the playstyle is entirely different. And I'm excited to see what combos are going to work with this character, how she's going to work throughout her teams, because there's a lot of potential, especially with the unique mechanics that we have built into her kit, like an enhanced intro skill, which is, you know, something that we've only seen on Calcharo. Yeah, I think Calcharo is the only character in the game that has an enhanced intro skill. And I do believe that Cantarella is going to be joining him as the second. And so with that, that's going to be our full review of her kit. I think she has a ton of potential moving forward. I think her main teammate, like I mentioned multiple times, is going to be really, really similar to Zhezhi. I do think that Zhezhi is going to be the main one that she's going to work with, but she might have some combos, right? Depending on how much damage she deals on field. She could have some combos with a character like potentially even Chang Li, because we all know that Chang Li deals resonance skill damage. And so I'm excited to see what these theory crafters and Giga Sweaty players are able to come up with. Let me know what you all thought about her kit and her reveal and her demo, and peace out.